We're live because
We're alive.
we're alive. What does it mean to be alive? How do we know that we're really alive? Some people, they pinch themselves. I pinched myself. Oh, that hurt. I must be alive. If you have pain, you must be alive. If you don't have pain, oh.
That's when you're dreaming.
Right. Or when do you feel most alive? When do you feel most alive?
In the morning.
In the morning. So, yeah, in the morning when you're learning, when you're doing a mitzvah, is that when you feel most alive?
Yeah.
Um, how about when you're sitting out in, 25-degree temperature Celsius,
Mm.
80 degrees Fahrenheit, sitting in the sun? Do you feel?
Not too large.
So some people, that's when they feel alive, right? Some people they feel alive when they do an act of loving kindness to another. They feel alive, right? So, but then that means you're only alive when you did the act of kindness, or when you're sitting in the sun, or when you're learning, or when. But then that means, we only have from time to time we're alive. So it's somewhat, yeah, it's conditional, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't mean alive that, we're breathing, obviously. I mean that we're full of life. When is it? So, when we're full of life, whenever there is a struggle between the animal soul and the godly soul, we're alive. So someone who's completely evil is the walking dead because they're never alive, because they're always following their animal soul. So they're never really alive. Yeah, imagine that. And then us, shall we say, we visit life when we do a mitzvah, when we're studying Torah, or when, let's say, we have a struggle and we overcome. So then we're alive. But when we live on autopilot and there isn't a struggle, then we're not alive. So who is always alive besides the righteous, obviously, is the Beinoni, because the Beinoni has a constant struggle and overcomes the struggle, which is amazing. Wow. Welcome to Tanya today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you, finally, from Chabad Zichron Kadeshim in Montreal, Canada, where it's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. The Tanya that gives us life, that gives us the capacity to be more alive today than we were yesterday. I was watching about this guy who's trying to reverse age and to see how you can live, to 200 years or forever for Mashiach, right? To be alive. To be alive. But to be alive for what? And what does it mean to be alive? So as we said, we're alive when we're not like an animal that just goes by our instincts, right? So the Beinoni is truly alive, right?
They're in training.
It's truly alive. We're Beinoni in training. That's who we are. And how lucky we are to be that. And day in, day out, we train together by learning another piece of Tanya, incorporating more of the teachings into our personal lives. So we conclude chapter 12 today, which is giving us the definition of the Beinoni. of this intermediate individual who has complete mastery over thought, speech, and action, which we call garments. As a garment, I can choose to put on or take it off. So likewise, I can choose what I want to think, what I want to say, and how I want to act. I have that choice all the time if I choose to have the choice, rather than being like an animal that has no choice and has to fulfill their instinct.
Mhm.
So the Beinoni, who prayer gives them such a illumination of the light of God during prayer, that they're just in a different space, a different place. But after prayer, that connection is lost the way it was in a, formidable fashion of really feeling the love and awe of God. And what's left is what we call the Ava Misuteres, the hidden love that's in the soul, that gives the natural love that's there, that enables a person to be able to dominate over evil during the rest of the day, preventing from evil to ever having any supremacy over the individual. Furthermore, even in the mind alone, right? A sinful thought that comes to a person, the Beinoni will not allow such a thought to be consciously thought about, meditated upon. He will not accept it willingly if it's a negative thought. If it arises, that negative thought, which comes involuntarily, he didn't choose it. It's only because he's not a righteous person and therefore did not transform the heart.
Unconsciously?
It's unconscious. So it's from the subconscious, because the heart has not been transformed like the righteous person. So therefore, there are negative feelings. There are feelings of desire for materiality, lustful desires, right? And so on and so forth, that are still in the heart because he didn't transform the heart as the righteous do. So it's there. And therefore, it rises to the mind because what's in your heart will be involuntarily brought up to mind, right? It's not something he chose, right? It's because the heart still craves negativity, lust, desires, comfort, pleasure, self-directed things, and so on. That's right. It's still a craving in the heart. However, immediately when it comes and he's conscious, he or she are conscious of it, what do? With two hands, they push it away. Two hands, they push it away, knowing that this is coming from a bad place. Since it's coming from a bad place, there's only one thing to do with it: get rid of it. It has no place. Not to kind of like, let me work this through. Let me do some therapy on this. No, there's no therapy here. Not in the moment of that negative thought. The only therapeutical thing there is to push away that negative thought, not to accept it. Because what happens if he willingly indulges in that thought? Then he's a Russia at that moment. He's got a stain on his soul as a result. And the Beinoni is never wicked for a single moment. He will therefore never willingly entertain a negative thought. Now the Alter Rebbe brings this. That's between you and God, right? You have a negative thought that's only between you and God because only God knows it. But now he translates this, and how this expresses is in the human dimension between man and man. Right. Wow. So remember that the Beinoni has negative feelings. And part of those negative feelings are to other people that he may have an animosity towards. He may have something, holding in his heart. He doesn't allow the expression, right, as we will see. So there might be a jealousy, an anger, a grudge. But when he sees that person who maybe did something to him or her, right? What will happen when that negative thought comes and enters? He will refuse to think it. He will not willingly think that negative thought. On the contrary, he's actually going to do the exact opposite. He will actually, instead of being kind of not, well, maybe not tit for tat and negative, and maybe not, and he will not even just be kind of like, lukewarm. He's actually going to display a disproportionate form of love to this person. The person that he got suffering from. That person who maybe he said an embarrassing thing to him publicly. And he holds it in his heart. But when that negative thought comes, no, not only pushes it away, but he's disproportionately nice to him. Right? Disproportionately. He will not, God forbid, he won't take revenge. On the contrary, you know what he will do? He will repay offenders with favors. As the Zohar teaches us about Joseph, we learned in the Torah portion, a few weeks ago, that Joseph, when he revealed himself to his brothers and his brothers sold him into slavery, they wanted to even kill him. They really had a lot of negativity, thrust upon him. What did he do? He just saw that this came from God, and therefore he just acted with kindness towards them. Hmm?
Was he Benin?
No, let's leave that aside for a moment.
Okay.
He was a tzaddik. He was a tzaddik,
Yeah.
but that's not the point over here. So I don't want to. I don't want to get derailed on that.
Yeah.
He treated them with great kindness. For those who paid him with suffering, he paid them back. Not I'll be kind. I'll kill you slowly with kindness. No. He did it lovingly because this was the way of the Beinoni of the Jewish way. Now I'm going to get back to you. I'm not going to be like you. You were mean to me, but I'm going to be nice to you. No, not that attitude. Or I'm going to kill you with love, right? No, not that either. I'm going to give back, repay the suffering that I got, the offense that I was heaved my way with a favor. And we learned that from Joseph, what he did with his brothers, recognizing that this is all coming from God. And therefore, what I need to do is just to do the opposite of what my nature is. My nature would say tit for tat. My nature would be, or maybe to be just kind of cold to this person. I don't need this person in my life. I don't need toxic people in my life. That's what they say, don't have talk. Here it's the opposite. That toxic person, you're going to do something favorable, nice to them. That is going completely against one's nature. That's being human. That's the service of the Beinoni. Beinoni will do it perfectly. You and I, we're Beinoni in training. So what's our training that we need to take from this? Is that recognize that when that negative thought comes up to a person in the next week that you're going to see, who you have a pain in your heart, not only you won't think that negative pain, which that itself is remarkable, that you won't allow that negativity to occupy your mind, that anger towards them, that whatever, negative feeling you have towards them, you will not allow that to occupy your mind. But furthermore, you will actually repay that person with a smile, with a good word, and do it because that's what the godly way to be. That's not human. That's godly. That's powerful way to live.
Like last paragraph,
Yeah.
teacher and child. I'm a student. Thank God.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions?
more for commando. It's not necessarily easy to.
do this. Yeah. It's easier to to act by our animal nature. Much easier,
Recognizing it is important.
right? But that's the key over here, I guess. The beginning point is that the recognition and the desire to be a servant of God, to serve God. To serve God means to do it God's way. God's way is what the Tanya is teaching us. You know, do I have a feeling? Do we all have a feeling at times that, let me give a jab back to this person? But I'll do it in an elegant way, not the way that person did it. I'll give it back to them elegantly. You know,
Because you're implying that, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the concept of killing them with kindness has an ulterior motive.
yes,
Not necessarily.
exactly. It's not divine. Exactly. Because that's a phrase that people use, right? That's why I used it. Yeah.
Talking about that. Oh, stop, please. What they do,
Forgive them for they do not know what yeah. But here it's more than forgiving. It's more than forgiving. It's the whole nature of the Beinoni and us is that the Mayach Shalat al-Lev, that the mind has dominion over the heart. And when the heart's desire that enters the mind, that the negativity that I have in my heart towards somebody, that now, because I see the person, so now came to mind what that person did to me, and therefore I have a negative feeling towards them, that I can go and to act contrary to the feeling that I have. It's powerful. And think about it. It's so contrary to Western culture. Western culture says your feelings, that's your truth. That's what you feel about the person. That's your truth. Right? And who can deny someone's truth? Comes in Torah tells us it's not truth. And feelings to begin with are not truth. They're just your feelings. And not only they're just your feelings, they're just the feelings of the animal soul. If they were feelings of your godly soul, that'd be a different story, right? They're just your feelings of your animal soul. So why are you taking them so seriously? Why would you take it seriously? If you're self-serving, then of course you're going to take your animal soul's feelings seriously. And you hurt my feelings. And I'm upset with you. Now, of course, the Torah teaches us that if you can't rise above it, the hurt feelings, so you need to talk it through with the person, right? Not with vengeance, not with, I'm going to get back at you. But no, that was a hurtful thing that you said, and you speak it through with the individual. But here we're talking about you're not talking through anything with anybody, because that negative feeling that you have, you're not allowing it to ruminate in your mind. Because what happens when it ruminates and it takes room, by the way, at taking free lodging, not only free lodging, by the way, you also feed it. You're giving it room and board because you're feeding it. The more you talk, think about it, the more you get angry. So you're feeding it. It's getting bigger and bigger. He only weighed before. He only weighed 110 pounds, and now he's weighing 210 pounds. That's a heavy weight to bear, and of course it's gonna break you. But all that is a side point. The real point is, and this is the key: if it's service of God, when that negative thought comes in, then you just push it away, because God doesn't want you to entertain it. So there's no there you don't give it any time. You don't give it any space, and that's the key. And that's the key is what it means to serve God. That you're doing what God wants, and the Alter Rebbe is teaching us exactly what God wants from us.
But because nature abhors a vacuum, merely pushing it away is just half of the work. But that space now needs to be filled with
Something positive. And what's the positive? That you're acting. Wait. Before you act, there's the thought. Then from the thought, that will allow you now to also act contrary to what your instinctual feeling that you now suppressed, right? But in a healthy suppression, not a negative suppression, because you recognize where it's coming from and it's not an appropriate thought, right? So that's a healthy suppression. And now what you're doing is doing something that's positive. You're going to say a kind word to that person. You're going to embrace that person. I had about a year ago, I buy a kiddush. So the person will go unnamed, of course. Not someone who, I guess a person comes maybe once a year, right? By Shabbos Kiddush. And I just asked the person, please to sit down, like someone's going to speak or whatever. And, look, it's not for now, that discussion. So in front of everybody, I don't know, everybody, in front of some people, he says, Rabbi, I'm not going to listen to what you say. Like, who are you to say anything to me? And um, the natural instinct is, like that's, chutzpah and publicly, but I didn't allow that thought to entertain me. Like, I didn't allow it. The thought came, it's like, that thought came and I just pushed it away and actually embraced the person afterwards. Right? Not like, embrace the person. I didn't give the person any kind of mussar, rebuke. How do you don't speak to the rabbi this way because whatever. It was about me, so I'm not going to do that. And just embrace the person. It takes a little, an awareness of where that thought and feeling came from, and not to allow it to dominate me. And it wasn't like, and I was very aware not to make it, I'm not going to be like you. I'm going to be, even though that thought comes up. Yeah, right. Now, so no, I'm not right. I'm not, I'm going to show you and everybody I take the high road. I'm the bigger man. Exactly. That's right. Because then that's not coming from the godly soul. That's also coming from your own animal soul of survival. How am I going to survive? Take the high road. Some people, their survival is, I'm gonna tit for tat. I'm gonna fight with you now. You said something nasty to me, I'll nasty back to you, right? Some other people, their survival, they take the high road because it's not about me. It's not a, and this is the key. It's not about doing good. It's about, it's not about, it's about being seen as good. You want to be seen as a good guy, so you take the high road.
Okay.
So it's not about being good in the eyes of God. It's about in the eyes of others, and that's natural. And that thought comes up. And by the way, it may be that's where it could be on a subconscious level. Maybe that's where it's coming from. But on a conscious level, I recognize that I thought that. So no. I'm going to do this because it's the right thing, the right way, as we just learned in Tanya, to behave. And so, on a conscious level, that's what my thoughts were.
Wonderful.
That's anyway, enough of me.
Amazing if you could pick one thing. Yes.
Okay, will it come naturally as we practice? Vicky, excellent question. 100%. Yeah, it will become much more natural, and you'll see that the process is quicker. The process is quicker. You at one point you know where it might take, you know, that you have to process it, it might take a couple of minutes. Then it can take a minute, then it can take literally a flash in your mind. Like, you know, like literally the flashes and it's very quick.
Big challenge, eh?
Uh, yeah. Mom said that we don't have to like people to be kind. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's true. But here, I don't know if I would say it in those terms, although there's something about that. Yeah. Anyway, I hear that. Okay. Yeah. Let me. Any other questions? I don't see. Ah, Davida, do we have to embrace a person who's abusive or wicked?
Sorry.
So, you know, Hamas wickedness, we do not embrace, obviously. Um, um, Abusive, you know, I don't know. That's a very good question. Um, Sunday night we'll deal with it in TRC, maybe. Wow, Judd. Literally struggling with rude neighbors today. Incredible how the daily studies re- remain in my face relevant. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. So, Vicky, can we hope to not even have a flash of resentment?
Just a flash.
Yeah, I think a flash we're going to have. Again, the righteous person, the tzaddik, completely transforms their heart that they will not have it. We're not capable of that. We're not capable of that. Halavai Beinani, so be it that we'll be able to not allow it to control us. You know, I think let's aim for that. But yeah. All right, amazing, amazing, amazing. Um, Omerta, I don't know if I pronounced that right. Abusive people cannot understand kindness. You could be right in what you said, but that's not what's relevant over here. You're not kind, and thank you actually for saying that. What's important over here, and that goes with the idea, you're being kind, not so you should have an effect on someone else, right? You hear what I'm saying? We choose to choose kindness, that we are kind. Why? Because I chose to be that, not because of its effect. If I'm kind, so it'll, you know, it'll bring out something better in the other person. Because if I'm going to be nasty to that person. So I'm just going to bring out more nastiness out in them. So be kind, so you bring out some kindness in them, right? So if the person's abusive, they are not, they cannot understand kindness, which might be true. Might be true what you're saying, but that's not why you're being kind. You're being kind because that's the godly way to be. Period. Not because of the consequence of it, not because of the effect of it, not what I'll gain from it, right? Whether I gain or the other even person gains, but because that's the divine way to live, right? Yeah. All right. Amazing. Okay, folks, we're going to do a Rambam.
Is the U.S.
I'm Rabbi
responsible
Ronnie
for
Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichin Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege, a pleasure to share with you. Tanya, have an amazing